Hi guys, if you're watching this video, I know you're very excited about the new Panasonic GH6. It will definitely be a very powerful video-centric camera. The previous generation, the GH5, was the king of mirrorless video camera, but this time the throne is already taken by the almighty Sony a7S3. I'm sure everybody is wondering, is this release the return of the king? Can GH6 dethrone a7S3? So, in this video, I'm going to share with you some of my observations according to the information I got online. First, let's take a look at the specs. The new GH6 still uses a micro four thirds sensor, but it is a newer and higher frame rate version, and it also uses a new processor. So GH6 should perform pretty well in low light environment compared to the previous models in the same series. The 25 megapixel resolution allows it to finally be able to compete with some full-frame cameras. So we can expect the GH6 to be a hybrid camera suitable for both photographers and videographers. Well, I won't recommend this camera to you if you mainly use this camera for photography, but it will come handy if you are a videographer who also take photos. Alright, as for videos, GH6 can record 4K, 60p, 422, 10-bit. Well, Sony a7S3 can do that as well, but remember, the price of a7S3 is significantly more expensive. Another key feature of GH6 is the 10-bit 5.7K 60p video resolution. It sounds very demanding, but the camera does have some vents for active cooling, so they should be able to prevent the camera body from overheating. Another great update is the recording file supports Apple ProRes, so it will be easier to process during post. On the other hand, with Sony a7S3, you can record 4K 120p 422 10-bit, and GH6 can only do 420 10-bit. Another new feature of GH6 is the dual ISO GaN sensor, which is different from the dual native ISO of Sony a7S3. So basically, what the dual ISO GaN sensor of GH6 does is that the high gain will preserve the details of the shadow, while the low gain will preserve the cleanness of the highlight, and merge these two into one image, creating great dynamic range. This feature works on both photos and videos, and it will give you a cleaner look. As for a7S3, what dual ISO does is that you start with a base ISO and you increase the ISO. The quality becomes worse, and at a certain point, it just starts all over at another base ISO. The base ISO varies depending on different picture profiles. So when you turn the picture profile off, the two native ISOs will be 80 and 1600. For Cine 2, there are 50 and 1000. And for HLG, it is 100 and 2000. And finally, for S-Log2 and S-Log3, you get it at 640 and 12,800. Now, if we look at the dual ISO GaN sensor of GH6 and the dual native ISO of a7S3, the question is, which camera can perform better in low light environment? I would still say a7S3 because you also have to take into consideration that Sony a7S3 is a full-frame camera, and the GH6 is still a micro four thirds, so the sensor is very small compared to Sony full frame. The biggest question that everybody is asking is the autofocus improved in GH6? Well, with the newer and higher frame rate sensor, the newer autofocus should be better, but it is still using the DFD system, but it does have some great improvement from GH5. So basically, if you are just doing a still shot, looking into the camera, as when you normally do when you're in an interview, then the autofocus performs pretty well. But if you are jumping in and jumping out of the frame, you will lose your focus. So generally, it still cannot compete with Sony and Canon. Sony a7S III can keep you in focus in most situations, even when you are moving around. And it also allows you to keep track of people's eyes up to 6 or 5 stops underexposed and overexposed. So it's probably the best autofocus system we can find. Now let's talk about stabilization. The active steady shot on Sony a7S III crops in 10%, and both active and standard mode work greatly for still shot, but not the best in reducing footsteps when you walk. On the other hand, the incredible IBIS on GH5 got even better in GH6. It used to be 5 stops and 6.5 stops for GH5 Mark II, and now we have 7.5 stops. I can't even imagine what it is like to use a 7.5 stop camera. From GH5 to the new GH6, we can see some great improvement, like 5.7K, better dynamic range, new sensor, new processor, more resolutions, more reliable autofocus, etc. So the big question is, Panasonic GH6 and Sony a7S III, which is the right camera for you? Let's break it down in 4 aspects. Number 1, autofocus. No doubt, a7S III wins. And number 2, low light performance. I still have to say a7S III. And number 3, stabilization. For this one, I can say GH6 is the winner. And finally, the price. GH6 wins at only $2,199, and it is significantly less expensive than Sony a7S III. So now we have a tie, 2 wins for Sony and 2 wins for Panasonic. So I guess it really depends on what you use the camera for. Do you use your camera a lot in low light? Does your subject move a lot? Do you have to follow your subject walking around? These are some important factors to consider before you decide which camera you want to buy. So I hope this video helps you clear some information out. If you like my videos, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.